Welcome back to our Atlanta studio, everybody. Later on tonight on TNT, you got the Houston Rockets in Philadelphia, which means the hottest player on the planet, James Harden, who scored 163 points over his last 3 games. Ooh. The 4th largest total over a 3-game span since the NBA-ABA merger. You coached James Harden. How are you surprised by this? I mean, you know what he's capable of, but this stretch he's on right now is sort of silly.
Yeah, he's on another level right now that, you maybe envisioned he could do something like this, but not this. I mean, he's just taken over. And the most impressive thing is they're winning. He has the ball in his hands a lot. He plays bully ball when he comes downhill on you. And there's just no way. He's always looking for contact. He's got to be able to go to the line. But to put up these numbers, honestly, it really is just ridiculous. 163
points without a single assisted basket in that 3-game stretch. Now, the free throws, he gets to the free throw line more than anybody.
So no one's thrown him a pass where he's
not
caught
a
and shot
single
it?
basket in those 3 games in which he has received a pass.
That might be more
scored.
amazing than 163
it's
points.
Unbelievable. How hard, try to put that in perspective, how hard is it for a guy to create his own shot to that degree that he's literally doing it by himself?
Well, it's extremely difficult to do in the NBA. And in fact, I don't know if I ever heard of such a stat in basketball, the 163 points unassisted. Mm-hmm. That means literally you playing by yourself, mm-hmm. and no one else is really touching the ball or getting a chance to fill it. Now, the thing that's really impressive, I watched LA play him last night or a couple of nights ago, and they jumped on his left side and they had a defensive, scheme kind of working. I thought, the first quarter, James was a little flustered by it, but by, halftime, he had figured it all out, mm-hmm. And he's seeing different looks every single night, different schemes on how to stop his individual outbursts. And normally when teams throw a different scheme at you, your immediate response is to, okay, well, if you're going to double team me or make it difficult for me, I'm going to give it to somebody else, and they're going to kill you tonight. James's response to, oh, you're going to put 2 on me? Okay, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to score.
Right.
Oh, you're going to try this defensive scheme on me? Okay, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm still going to score. And that is unique in itself because most basketball players, when you try to scheme them or double team them, they're saying, okay, I'm going to give it up to John, mm-hmm. I'm going to give it up to Mike, or I'm going to give it up to Bill. James is like, no, that ain't enough. You need to come with a little bit more because I got this thing humming.
And the one thing like not having an assisted basket means he's never out running a wing because it's just by accident if you're out running a wing ahead, I'm going to throw you the ball and you're going to lay it in or catch and shoot it. So that means he's waiting for the ball, getting it in the backcourt, initiating the offense from the backcourt. Boy, that's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
I mean, can he keep it up?
I don't know. 12 40-point games over his last 19, including 3 50-point games along the way. Again, they're in Philadelphia tonight.
Matt,
Jimmy Butler will be out for the 76ers.
Can we say this to the kids out there? Don't try
this at home.
This whole unassisted 163-point thing.
Yeah. Don't do that.
It ain't for everybody.
No. Pass cut, move, space.
Yes, all that stuff is good.
Yeah.
Lakers had the Rockets on the ropes, let them get out of that, and Houston won that game on Saturday night. Tonight, they've got the Golden State Warriors coming to town. Second look at Boogie Cousins as a Warrior. What'd you think of his debut?
Yeah, I thought he looked pretty lively. I was expecting him to be a little bit more lethargic. He looked like he was a bit lighter, like he had lost a little bit of weight, and I thought he moved well. He was more, a little more spry than I thought he would be. I thought he would labor a little bit more after that injury and stuff. But the one thing that Boogie's got a high basketball IQ. He knows how to play this game. Yeah. Now, he may not always play the right way, and he may get mad at some other stuff, but he really knows how to play. My big concern on him in Golden State is they're not going to be able to switch a lot of stuff that they used to switch with him in it. They're just not going to put him on it. They're going to have to scheme it. Guys are going to have to get over and work. The guards guarding the ball are going to have to work harder now as Boogie kind of gets back in more of a defensive posture, not up high switching. He's going to be back just absorbing everything. Yeah. So the guards are going to have to work harder.
And I think those consistent 14 to 16 points that he's going to be able to give you night in and night out. Then he may give you the outbursts of 24, 25. But those 14 to 16 that Looney was not getting, that's going to be enough cushion for Golden State to really start having more blowouts. The other thing that I was really impressed with Boogie running the floor.
Yeah.
I thought the way he ran the floor, he's been sitting back watching, and he's figured out, okay, the way that I can score is to run the floor, because the defense, once it's in transition, everybody's flowing out to the three-point line to guard Durant, to guard Curry or Thompson, and the middle of the lane literally is wide open. And he got a couple of easy layups just by running the floor and getting down into the paint. So
he never necessarily was explosive, but he's always been able to run well. And he certainly did that the other night, which he called one of the best days of his life. That's how excited he was to return to basketball. Warriors have won 7 in a row as they hit the floor at Staples Center tonight against the Lakers. More coming up here on Game Time, presented by Kia on this important American holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Back here in Atlanta, the resting place and birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King on this holiday. Plenty of basketball happening around the NBA, including the game right now on TNT. The Pelicans in Memphis, place of some significance, obviously, on this day, the Memphis Grizzlies. Rookie Jaren Jackson Jr. is having a nice rookie season, and that is impressive at his age. He's second in the league in blocks per game among rookies, for instance, but that's nothing compared to what you're about to see from 6-year-old Jaren Jackson Jr. Here he is at the buzzer.
I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in every dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. Free at last! Free at last! Thank God! Free at last!
Nailed it as a 6-year-old, which, by the way, was like 13 years ago. Wasn't that long ago.
But
He had good height for a 6-year-old.
Yeah, he was 6'2" as a 6-year-old.
He had a good height for a 6-year-old as well.
I'm sure he was being asked for his birth certificate a lot when he was young.
Pee-wee basketball, like you walk in.
That guy is not 10.
Yeah, exactly. But how impressive. Didn't even look at his script. He's reading off the speech, so pretty impressive.
Well, it's impressive, but then when you think about who his parents were, mom and dad, and, it's not impressive. He was taught well, and he was raised well, and, when you meet him, he treats people with the kindness, the dignity, and respect that his parents taught him.
Nice.
Big day. Enjoy the basketball. Consider the meaning of the day as well. Civil rights are human rights. Treat each other like humans. Be nice to each other for the rest of the day and the days moving forward. We appreciate you stopping by. This has been Game Time Live, presented by Kia. For Kevin and Zeke, I'm Matt. Enjoy the basketball, folks.
The good games are coming up.
James Harden.
It is all hard.
It's one of the greatest individual offensive runs we've ever seen.
The Beard also extended his streak to 18 in a row, scoring at least 30.
The step-back three is an iconic shot, just like the Skyhook, just like the Dream Shake. James Harden's step-back three is unstoppable.
He's perfected the step-back where it's unguardable.
Just continue to go. Keep giving the opposing team hell.
Murray and Harden.
He fell down. Man down. Man down.
James Harden puts you in the most compromising position possible on every possession. The way he plays, the way he attacks.
Like a running back, using the power to create space with his elbow and his shoulder. All of a sudden, he knocked this guy back like they're in a boxing ring. Bang, bang, bang.
Down to three, down to two, it's a three. Good! Good! He got it! He hit the three!
He's got a mastery of the game. Again, I haven't seen his whole life, but the last 3 years, I don't know how you get any better than when he's playing.
Yeah, he's just extremely unique if you factor in just the overall offensive package. If you look at the volume of the shots that he takes for a team at an efficient level, I think that's the key. Then you add in the fact that his passing is at a level that's in the top 10 to 20 in NBA history. James has been leading the top offense since he's been in the league.
Oh, man, he's special, man. And he has a counter for everything the defense gives. If you force him right, he has counters going left. If you force him left, he has counters going right. There's really nothing you can do with him. You just have to hope he misses.
We got 40 games left to go. Like, it's outside of anything that we've ever seen.
So those shots you see him make at the end of games, he practices that stuff every single day. And to see him actually do it in games is pretty incredible.
Look, his whole team is hurt right now. At this point, I don't think there's any doubt about it. We still have half a season to go. Right now, James Harden is the NBA's MVP.
Step back. Oh! 57 points.
17 straight games with 30-plus points. That joins the most underrated player in NBA history, Elgin Baylor, and Wilt Chamberlain, the most statistically significant player in NBA history. Wow. Those are the only people to ever do that.
Houston Rockets, Los Angeles Lakers tip off at 8:30. James Harden averaging 40 points over the last 21 games, 18 straight games over 30, and over 55 points in his last 2 games. Kelly Iko of The Athletic joins us now. You cover the Houston Rockets. How incredible of a run has this been for James Harden? And with this team, how long do they plan on riding just Harden being their entire offense?
I think it's incredible. I wasn't around the league to cover when Kobe and Elgin Baylor did those crazy streaks, and now you're seeing it on a nightly basis where the team really needs it at the most. And you're seeing him doing it in such an efficient manner. And the crazy thing is he knows that if he can hit 5 or 6 threes, he said, and I quote, it's going to be a 40-point night. And back then, you would think that maybe 30 points would be good, but now he's thinking 40, 50, 60. And I think as the games go on, you're going to see him trying to will his team to victory and back up the Western Conference standings.
Kelly, how you doing, man? It's Booz. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Big fan of you.
Thank you, brother. I got a question. James has been on a tear, as we just documented and talked about. Going forward, the schedule gets a little thicker. They're playing without CP3. Obviously, they're playing without Clint Capella. May have a signing coming up here soon. What other guy on the team is gonna step up consistently to help him carry some of that offensive load, whether that's Eric Gordon or whether that's Gerald Green? Who you got?
I think Eric Gordon, for sure. He kind of started the season a bit slow and consistent, but as you see him come back the last game, he was on a minutes restriction, but he is going to be needed to be offensive, aggressive, and for a consistent basis for them to, get some wins put together.
And Kelly, as you look at this team trying to go back deep into the playoffs again, is there any concern that James may run out of gas like he did last year, that someone definitely has to help him? Or are we looking at James being in that great of shape, this may be the year he can go all the way?
Yeah, definitely. Coach D'Antoni always talks about his biggest fear is, putting too much load and time on James's legs. And he's averaging almost close to 40 minutes in this 20-game stretch, which is pretty unbelievable. But with Eric Gordon coming back and Chris Paul returning next week possibly, and Austin Rivers with the team now, the idea is to give him some rest, because he is putting a lot of time in the dark days of the season where you're going to need him in May and possibly June, hopefully, for them.
Well, you mentioned Chris Paul. Earlier this week, Mike D'Antoni said, okay, Chris Paul should be back next week. What is that timetable? Is there a specific game that's now located as the game Chris Paul should come back?
No, we all know D'Antoni keeps things close to his chest, but I don't think there's a specific game that he has in mind, but it depends on Chris and how he looks, in training and in practice.
All right,
next
excellent.
week for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Kelly Iko from The Athletic. Appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Chris Paul, I think, is the key to this entire equation, because when you look at James Harden's usage, we haven't seen this in what we can say the modern era, right? When you look at all the stats, it kind of goes back to Elgin Baylor or Wilt Chamberlain. Those are the names that you had. And like you said, look, 55 or more in consecutive games, there's 2 guys on that list, James Harden and Wilt Chamberlain. Yeah. That's what we're seeing right now. He scored 58, and they lost the game. So this is a situation where when Chris Paul comes back, maybe we see this run of James Harden having this usage and these crazy stats go away, but it might be better for the Houston Rockets, right?
Well, we can say that, Chris, but James Harden is playing at such a high level, he's been able to hold down the fort. So if you're giving James Harden a rest, who's going to hold down his fort? So we're saying Chris Paul's going to come back and start getting 40 for his 10 straight game. We're saying Chris Paul's going to come back and start getting 50 the way James Harden's getting. I don't think so. So what we're saying is when Chris Paul comes back, come back and be who Chris Paul is, and James Harden, you continue to do what you're doing, because it has to happen that way if we're thinking you're going to get back to a possible Game 7. Chris Paul's hamstring doesn't get hurt. Maybe they beat Golden State. See all these maybes I'm talking about? So that's why it has to be Austin Rivers. Is it Brandon Knight? Is it Eric Gordon? It has to be a collective of guys to help what James Harden's doing if they want to go deep again.
Certainly, James Harden is someone that if he's not on top of your MVP palette, he should be 1A or 1B, right? You can't have him. You can't have him at number 2.
If he's 4 or 5, then what NBA are you watching?
Well, there's another guy on top of that ballot or near.